Well, hello everybody. This is Matt J. from Nugget Bridge with a report on the Missouri Winter Regional that just happened a couple of weeks ago. For those who don't know, my name is Matthew Carter. I live in Missouri, not too far away from the regional, and aside from the obvious Pokemon and Zelda and stuff like that, I spend a lot of time fishing, camping, and going on float trips with my daughter. I also write and record a fair bit of music by myself, as well as play music with a couple of friends every now and then just for fun. I got into competitive Pokemon at the very end of 2008, right when the 2009 VGCs were announced. For some reason, Smoggin.com wasn't accepting new members at that time, so I joined the competitive powerhouse known as Cerebi Forums. There, I got my start right alongside legends like Bad Intent and Greysong and TR Jesse's VGC tournament. I've since played in the 2009 World Championships, qualified for the 2010 World Championships, though I didn't fly to Hawaii to attend it, and top cut here and there, nothing too special though. Although I bought Black and White and Black 2 and White 2 when they came out, and RNG'd like crazy and was really active in the Skarmblitz community at first, and played a ton online and even went to the Missouri Regional whenever they started having one, I didn't attend another national championship during 2011, 2012, or 2013, and bombed the Missouri Regional to hacks both times. However, I was in a pretty good financial situation this year, so I thought I'd give VGC another real effort this season. I've actually been only using the same general team idea since Black and White first came out, nothing else. It's always seemed like a solid team to me, and it's achieved several markers of success, such as placing well in the first winter friendly, pretty high on the GBU here and there, 6th and 10th in one of the later winter battles, and most recently making 14th at Fort Wayne, and floating around the mid to low 1800s on the special rated ladder. Like I said, I had bombed the past two Missouri regionals with it, but I had identified the problem as stuff like attacks missing and crits. I adjusted some moves to increase accuracy and ignored the hacks that no one can control and stuck to the team. The basic idea is to maintain the upper hand with speed and hit as hard and as quick as possible. Mine Xiao supports the Tailwinder, who doesn't necessarily have to Tailwind, and the two in the back stomp as hard as possible. Chandelure completely counters Trick Room, and Abomasnow completely counters Weather. It's pretty simple and very versatile speed-wise. To take a quick closer look at each team member, I'll start with Talonflame. He's pretty self-explanatory. I gave him 252 HP instead of 252 speed because in my experience his Tailwind and Priority Brave Bird negated his need for speed investment. Plus with a Charty Berry and 252 HP he can survive a surprising amount of attacks that most opponents would assume would kill him, such as Rock Slides from Life Orb Garchomps, defensive Tyrannitars, Jolly Aerodactyls, and even some Rotom and Manectric Volt switches. U-Turn is there because in my testing I found it more useful than Protect. It achieves the same goal as Protect most of the time, getting him out of there for a more favorable matchup, as well as hitting Tyranitar and several others in this metagame for 2 or 4 times damage. Mine Xiao has to be my favorite Pokemon. He's everything I'm looking for in a lead supporter. He's fast, powerful, and has inner focus. I had actually been using an adamant inner focus Mine Xiao since 2011, up until the week before the tournament, but switched it to this jolly reckless one because I kept getting outsped by Garchomp and base 100s after my Tailwind had ran out. I carry Feint instead of Protect because in my testing it proved to be more useful. I could cover many of the situations where I would normally Protect by either switching out to a more favorable matchup or feinting to finish off a faster opponent who had a sliver of HP left. Plus, Feint cancels my opponent's Protects, Quick Guards, Wide Guards, etc., allowing me to freely Brave Bird or Blizzard or hit whenever they Protect. Wide Lens was my answer to 3 missed high jump kicks at the 2012 Missouri Regional. That was pretty bad. I've never missed either Life Orb or Focus Sash in place of it just because of the accuracy it gives. My Kangaskhan has the standard 252 attack, 252 speed, but his moveset is probably unique. Fake Out and Sucker Punch are pretty common, but in my testing, the extra power that Double Edge gives over a turn was worth whatever recoil I would incur. Hammer Arm proved to be more useful than either Power Up Punch or Protect for me, because it would easily KO any Tyranitar, even when intimidated, and gave me an unexpected means of altering my speed. It also usually KO'd many non-bulky Kangaskhan's. I was absolutely thrilled when I saw the IVs on this Zapdos. They are 31, 8, 30, 29, 31, 31, which gives me Hidden Power Ice. At level 50, that 29 special attack IV is only 1 point shy of flawless. I gave him the standard 252 special attack and 252 speed, and I thought about having him hold a choice specs, which is a reasonable item, but as my team was shaping up, it looked like he'd be the only Pokemon that could make use of Detect because of his shallow move pool this season. I'm surprised that Abomasnow isn't a more common choice. With 252 special attack, 252 speed, and a choice scarf, he outspeeds and one-hit KOs many common threats such as Garchomp and Salamence. He also can help control speed with Icy Wind, and has single-handedly shut down rain teams for me time and time again. Ice Beam is there for the odd instance that I'm facing something that could wide guard and I don't have Mind Shout to feint. The main reason that I carry Chandelure is to imprison Trick Room, but he proved to be surprisingly useful in this tournament even though I never outright faced a Trick Room team. With 252 special attack and 252 speed, he can outspeed and KO a ton of common threats by himself. I carry Overheat instead of Heat Wave because Heat Wave proved to be, in my experience, too weak way back in 2011, and it's been nerfed even further this generation. I also carry Shadow Ball, where a lot of people carry Protect on their imprisoned Chandelures because I've found that many times when I imprison, the opponent targets it with a Shadow Ball. I also switched from Flash Fire Chandelure that I had been using for so many years to the new Infiltrator just to try it out. I found it to be fantastically useful with all those Substitute Age/Gengar and even Garchomps out there. So now that you know what my team carries and how it works, let me tell you about how it fared in the tournament. In round 1, I got paired up with Private Smiley, a Nugget Bridge lurker. He's very prepared and very excited, and it's nice to start one of these tournaments with someone as happy to be there as this guy. He fought well, and I ended up winning 3-0. So at that point, I was 1-0. In round 2, I got paired up with some pretty new guy. Unfortunately, I can't recall his name, and I'm pretty sure I 4-0'd him, so at this point, I was 2-0. Round 3, I got paired up with another pretty new guy. He almost didn't show up, if I remember right. He was outside eating or something, and I think it was 2-0 or 3-0, and at this point I was 3-0 in the tournament. Then we had the lunch break, thank God. In round 4, I was paired up with the Battle Room from Team Magma. I knew he'd be prepared when I saw his Magma shirt. He had a solid team and brought solid leads, and I chose the right fake out and just happened to get the free tailwind. I swept up from there. I think the score was 3-0 or 2-0, and at that point in the tournament I was 4-0. For round 5, I got paired up with a guy, I believe his name is Joseph. And while he wasn't familiar to me and said he didn't post much on the forums, he said he spent a lot of time on Showdown, and this guy was very prepared with an absolutely solid team. The match came down to a single turn where I predicted correctly. I feinted and KO'd my biggest threat, which left me in a position to win. The match could have gone either way, though, and it was really, really tight. I think it was 1-0 at the end, and at this point in the tournament, I was 5-0. For round 6, I got paired up with LP Fan. While we haven't talked or battled too much, I've noticed LP Fan from a solid post on the forum for a while. I knew this guy would be tough. He had a very well thought out team and played very smartly. I would make a good prediction and then he would make a good prediction, and the game came down to me double targeting my biggest threat at the end, but honestly, had he chosen Protect the other way around, he would have easily been the victor. Fantastic, smart, well-prepared player. I think it was 1-0 at the end, and at this point I was 6-0 in the tournament. When it came to round 7, I was paired up with Darkness, and while we haven't spoken much, I've noticed Darkness on the forums and at several events recently. I knew he'd be tough, and when I saw his leads, I really wasn't that worried though. Aerodactyl used to be quite a problem for my team because of all of my team's rock weaknesses, but I had very good success against them on GBU by outspeeding them with Tailwind. I was actually more worried about him trying to Trick Room with the Gourgeist, but he ended up not bringing it. However, he won the game on turn 1 by matching my Tailwind instead of Rock Sliding like I assumed he would. After taking away my usual and only means of countering Aerodactyl, it was pretty much game over. He did a great job. He played well, he had a well-planned team, and predicted wisely. I lost, I believe it was 0-3, and at that point in the tournament I was 6-1. For round 8, I was paired up with some really well-prepared lurker girl. I didn't recognize her, but she said she'd spent a lot of time on Showdown. She played very well, and the match was fairly tight, but I wasn't really that worried about it. I'd chosen my leads right, and I had everything I needed to win. That is, until Hammer Arm missed Tyranitar. But that's Pokemon. After that, she cleaned me up to somewhere around 2-0, and at that point in the tournament, I was 6-2. For round 9, I got paired up with Mango Pickle, a very prepared lurker here on Nugget Bridge. Although he was new, he was 6-2 just like me. He said that although he hadn't posted much, he had been a lurker here for quite some time. He had a very smartly built team. The match was extremely tight. It came down to the turn before last. I recall fainting and KOing one Pokemon that threatened me the most, which put me in a position to win on the next turn. He played very well. I just happened to have the moves needed to win in that situation. That was one of those real heart pumpers. A friend of mine who had come to the tournament with me, who didn't even really know much about competitive Pokemon, but was sitting next to us watching, even commented on how exciting this match was. I won it 1-0, and I was 7-2 at this point in the tournament. After the Swiss rounds, I was absolutely convinced that my 2 losses, paired with what I had feared had been a few less prepared opponents, had been more than enough to exclude me from Top Cut. I just about popped when I saw that I had somehow ended up in 8th. I still don't understand the math, but I guess the people I played did pretty good too. For my top 16 match, I was paired up with Lucario Jr. Joseph and I have traded and battled and chatted for quite a few years now, and I've got a ton of respect for this guy. I'm pretty sure that I've never beat him in a weekend tournament. He's always very prepared, very thoughtful, and in my experience, he often uses unexpected things. I know for a fact that I haxed him out of the first round. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary, but I remember getting a key rock slide flinch that tipped the scale of the battle in my favor. The second round was pretty clean in my estimation, though, and I believe that we just went 2 battles. For my top 8 match, I was paired with the Dewobblefet. Although we hadn't spoken or battled much in the past, I've seen him make good posts on the forum, so I knew he'd be good. That and he had already gathered most of my team information. I'm pretty sure that I'd hacked the snot out of him somehow in game 1. Crits and flinches come to mind. It was pretty bad. I remember apologizing a lot. He's a great player, absolutely prepared and wise, but there's just nothing anyone can do when the dice keeps rolling like that. The second game was much more fair, although I believe there might have been a crit that may or may not have mattered. I really did feel bad for this guy though. Not that I really think I couldn't have beaten him if the matches had been fair, but that he really never had the chance to see if he could win. It's not anything that anyone could have helped, but you know, that's just Pokemon, I guess. We only went 2 battles if I remember right. For my top 4 match, I was paired up with Link, Yoshi, Mario. I believe I'd seen Link, Yoshi, Mario at Fort Wayne maybe, somewhere recently, and I didn't recognize him from the forums, but I knew he must be good because he made it this far. The moment that I saw his 6 Pokemon, I had a suspicion that I'd actually faced him online somewhere. He had a Diggersby and a Weavile, and I had faced a Scarf Diggersby and a Weavile lead a couple of times on Wi-Fi. The first time it steamrolled me because I underestimated what Diggersby could do, but after that it wasn't too bad. The first match that Link, Yoshi, Mario and I had was pretty close, but not too bad. I guessed right, and it was Scarfed. I gained the speed advantage with Tailwind and cleaned up. The second match, I could have ended it right there, but I don't know if I was tired or just spaced out or what, but I took too long looking at my Pokemon in the back and let the turn time out. It chose Fake Out on both of my leads, which both of them failed. I mean, I could have at the very least feinted or Sucker Punched to do at least some damage that turn, but that was my fault and no one else's. He wiped out half my team that turn and easily won game 2. By game 3, I had him pretty much figured out. I'd predicted correctly, got the speed advantage again, and cleaned house. We went to 3 matches. And I will say this is a kid that you guys are going to want to keep your eyes on. He's top cut all across the country, and while some dumb people have made fun of his choice of Pokemon, his team is absolutely brilliant. That Weavile has seriously made me reconsider my team, and that Diggersby is a fantastic, unexpected beast. I don't know that I could properly express just how much respect I have for Wesley. We've battled since I think it was Nats 2009, where he just absolutely wiped the floor with me. I don't think I KO'd a single one of his Pokemon. We faced each other several times since then, and every single time I lose to him. Every time. He's just a brilliant strategist who comes prepared with unique, thoughtful, unexpected Pokemon, and seems to make the wisest possible choice every single turn. The moment that I heard he had beaten Greysong and that we'd be battling for first place, I shouted out, "I can't beat that guy, I never beat that guy." He just laughed from across the room. Because we faced each other so much, I felt that I could make several assumptions about his team. He tends to invest a sizable amount of EVs in HP or defenses, either to the detriment of his attacks or his speed, and this had really tripped me up in the past. My plan was to scout with Abomasnow, either taking out his Garchomp with Blizzard or slowing down his team with Icy Wind. Plus, my Snow Warning could reveal the speeds of his Pokemon, which I really needed to know. The first match turned out surprisingly close, but as everyone knows by now, my Talonflame's Brave Bird absolutely stole the match in the end with a critical hit Brave Bird on the last turn to get that rare 0-0 win for me. He'd even asked me who would win if I KO'd myself, and I had explained the mechanics, but I told him, "No, don't worry, man. I know there's no way this can KO Charizard." Well, unless it crits.
This Talonflame could still have Choice Band, I think, which would also easily get the knockout, so I guess we'll find out if it does or not here.
It does not have Choice Band. And we see a crit. That is really interesting. We'll never know that damage roll.
And it just absolutely unbelievable. I still can't wrap my mind around it. That kind of stuff should never happen in Pokemon, but it did. That's Pokemon. Because of that battle, I had learned quite a few things about his team. Firstly, his Garchomp was max speed. It had leftovers, didn't have Rock Slide, and was doing weirdly low damage. His Gardevoir and Tyranitar weren't scarfed either. Those were all I was really worried about. After knowing that, I went into this next round with my bread and butter setup, Mineshow, Talonflame, Kangaskhan, Zapdos. Fake out and Tailwind, and then hit till he's dead. When I saw Wesley's leads here, I knew that I had made the right choice. Charizard was either going to get faked out or KO'd with Rock Slide. He either had to protect or switch. Gardevoir was the obvious choice to fake out. I chose correctly and got my Tailwind up. While I didn't need it this turn, I knew I would need it later, and this was a free turn for me. I didn't want to double target here because I expected to protect from Gardevoir. By the way, that's a 1% miss on Rock Slide right there. But I guess the flinch makes up for it. Manectric was one of the few Pokemon that I feared in this battle. If he could stall my Tailwind, he could outspeed me and cause all kinds of problems. I had to get rid of it immediately. I really expected this critical hit to do more damage. I also expected this Protect here to stall my Tailwind, so I feinted and Flare Blitzed. Again, it was the right choice. Now honestly, even though at this point in the battle, he led a number of Pokemon 3-2, after taking out Manectric the game was pretty much over. While this Garchomp outsped my Zapdos and Kangaskhan, it wasn't strong enough to one-hit KO either. And as you can see by the Mega Evolution order here, his Charizard actually was slower than my base 90 speed Kangaskhan. Almost a half. I targeted Charizard with a strong Thunderbolt for a likely one-hit KO, as it did. And I targeted Garchomp with a Double Edge for an easy KO. Gardevoir really had no chance at this point. So after I won the tournament, all kinds of things were going through my mind, from, pats on the backs and congratulations, high fives and all that stuff, hanging out at Denny's way past midnight with friends, talking about it, gushing about it, talking about everything. One of the things that kept coming back to my mind was the role that luck plays in these tournaments. Now, beyond the normal hacks that we all talk about, and things even like who you get paired with, predictions, and your opponent's move choice, and what items and moves they happen to bring in that tournament. Most turns we roll the dice a dozen times, counting all the RNG calls that can be made with the common moves that people are using. And while most of my battles probably weren't that hacksy in this tournament, some of them were, and they were hacksy exactly when I needed them to be. And most importantly, I only got seriously unlucky in one match. And while I still know that I'm a good battler, and I deserve to be, up there in the tournament because of my past experiences and my past top cuts and things like that, I'd be silly not to admit that luck played a sizable role in this win. From Talonflame's unbelievable Bravebird crit against Wesley to Mineshao's rock slide flinches against a Wobblefet. I've said this before I won a regional, and I'll say it again, luck plays a sizable role in these Pokemon tournaments. And in many cases, it's what makes the difference between top players playing against each other. There are also a ton of people that I have to thank for helping me get as far as I did. A ton of Nugget Bridge users so kindly allowed me to bombard them with requests for FCs for the Friend Safari. I wouldn't have been able to get the Pokemon that I needed without them. I'm also thankful for people like Greysong, Bad Intent, Chalky, BSTS, Multi, Bearded, Calm Lava, and the other Magmas, pball, and even King Empoleon for never giving up on me or thinking that I was all washed up. And it was really, really nice to have my friend Chris from church and his little brother Joe along for the tournament. And then to have my old high school friend Jesse just show up out of the blue for the final matches, that was really nice. It might not sound like much, but you guys gave me the confidence that I absolutely needed to succeed. It was also really great to have old friends Styrofoamion, Phonic Frog, and Greysong over at my place the night before the tournament, and to get to see other old friends like Wesley, Lucario Jr., Calm Lava, and BSTS, and new friends like Latios is Cool and Bisty again. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you in Kansas City.